Hi, my name is Awesome Aguilera, and welcome to WEYT, the show where I find interesting people just like you and discover what's going on between their ears. Now, let's get to know one another. What's going on, everybody? Awesome Aguilera, and welcome to another episode of WEYT. And today's mantra is, be thankful that when called upon, you're able to share and give to those who seek their own way through the path. So here's to enjoying the journey and the path. You see here, I have a very beautiful, curly-haired, wonderful person here. And this is Rebecca Whitman, who is a podcast host. And I'm going to let her tell you everything about that. But before that, my relationship with Rebecca is we got introduced by somebody in a networking group called Cheyenne. So thanks, Cheyenne. And she had me on her podcast, which I've been sharing for the past 2 weeks. So you can go take a look at that. Tell us about who you are.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Flip, for having me on your podcast. It's so great to see you again. And I love how we met, just, through someone that, we both don't even know that well, and she connected us, and now we're reaching different wonderful people through the podcast platform. So it's just great to be here. So my story, you want my story?
Yeah, let's hear all about Rebecca's story.
Okay. So I grew up believing that if you go to school and get good grades, that you would end up being the most successful. So I did that. I went to Princeton University. I graduated with honors, and I moved to New York City, and I thought I would get a great job with my Ivy League education. And they offered me internships, which is working for free. So I answered Help Want ads, and I found one that said circle me. And it said if I would sell nutrition, weight loss, and water filtration products, I could be rich in 5 years. So I believed it. I was 22, and I ended up attending thousands of hours of trainings with self-made millionaires in network marketing. So through those wonderful seminars, I learned a lot about sales and marketing and wealth and abundance. And I always had it in the back of my head that my dream was to act. So I moved to Los Angeles. It was frustrating because I would go on auditions, I would take workshops, do photo shoots, and I thought I was doing everything right, and I wasn't getting the results that I wanted. I mean, I booked a job here and there. I got to be like a featured extra on some pretty big shows like Friends, CSI, and 24, but I was never able to make a living at it. And I got really frustrated and really angry because I was used to getting results. So I started studying spiritual teachers, great teachers like Marianne Williamson, Wayne Dyer, Abraham Hicks, Michael Beckwith, and I started really learning about life and spirituality and how to be happy despite, not getting the results you want. So I was able to take those teachings and develop a lifestyle where I was able to make 6 figures working part-time. And I never ever thought about writing a book or teaching anyone. And my dad was literally on his deathbed. It was a really, really intense week because my marriage ended and my divorce papers were finalized 2 days after my dad's funeral. So it was a really, really intense week. And somehow after that week, I was able to function. I was able to perform at work. I was able to show up for my workouts and my life. And I was grieving, but I was still feeling a joy that surpassed human understanding because of my connection to the divine and just gratitude for being alive. And I was wondering, what should I write? What should I write? I couldn't figure it out. My dad asked on his deathbed for me to write something. He said, Rebecca, I don't care what you write. If it's an essay, a magazine article, a book, just write something because you have such an interesting perspective and I want the world to know about it. And I was asking the universe for signs, and I was sitting across the desk from my financial planner, and he's like, I'm looking at your portfolio and you're doing really well. You own over $1 million of real estate. You're doing great, but why are you always wearing workout clothes whenever I see you? It's like, what are you doing? And I said, you know what? I'm going to teach people what I'm doing, and I'm going to write a book, and it's going to be called how to make a six-figure income working part-time so I can actually teach people how I live life and how I'm able to do it. And what I do, Flip, is I divide life into 7 areas of balance. And when you get all these 7 areas in a balance, you can have an abundant life. Your spiritual life, your fitness, emotional, romantic, mental, social, and finally your financial life. And that's my lifestyle and my teachings. It's all about having work-life balance so you can have fun and freedom.
Wow. Sounds like you've had a very exciting ride while you've been on this planet. So
I
I know
have. I
you
really
said
have.
you've been through Ivy League, you've been through network, you've been through acting, you've been through spirituality. Can you break those things apart and tell us, like, what are some of the fundamentals that you learned from the Ivy League as opposed to some of the fundamentals you learned from the networking, as all these things that finally brought the whole 7 steps together?
Wow. Well, what I learned from being in the Ivy League is to question everything. Part of how they teach is don't just believe what the teacher or what society or what anyone is telling you. Like, go underneath that and research it and find out like what's true for you. So I really found my own authentic self and my own voice, and I learned how to disseminate information and not just be blindly led by propaganda or teachings. So that was invaluable. In network marketing, I learned so much. It was like getting a master's in sales. Basically, I learned how important stories are in selling, but also in life, how to be a really good storyteller. And I learned that facts tell and stories sell, and how to tell a great story. And in spirituality, oh my God, I learned so much. That could be the whole podcast. Wow. It's about surrendering myself to the flow and not trying to control things, but getting myself in alignment with how things are going so that I can have an easier ride when I align myself with what is happening rather than trying to control what is happening. So I would say that's one of the biggest tenets that has helped me, is like being in flow and surrendering what I want to the divine will.
And how about that acting part? Because I'm sure you learned a whole lot in that LA acting, community.
I did. I learned that really what I was not willing to do. I was not willing to starve myself to get roles. I remember I really wanted to be on the show Entourage, and I have a really like athletic build. Like I'm 5'8", 145 pounds, and you couldn't be on that show unless you were a size 4 or below. And that was like, that was devastating to me. Like, I'm not going to starve myself. I want to be on Entourage, but I'm not going to starve myself to be a size 4. So I realized that I'm not willing to starve myself, and I'm not willing to sleep on the casting couch. I had a chance to have a bigger role on a certain series that we all know, and I wasn't willing to do it. I kind of learned that it's more important for me to have my soul intact than to have an acting career, and to have my health intact than to have an acting career and not starve myself. And I realized that I want to follow like my own moral compass more than I want to like get a result in the world. And that was a powerful lesson.
Awesome. So thank you for sharing all of that story, which, all of that is the foundation for the question that I'm going to ask you next, because,
Okay.
it just seems like you've had such an amazing roller coaster experience while you've been on here. So now we're going to go to the question of this podcast, and that is, with all that as your foundation, what's engaging your thoughts lately?
That is so amazing. So I believe that everything happens for a reason. So I wake up this morning and I look at my phone. I follow you. I like the YouTube page. I'm a huge YouTube fan, the band U2.
Okay.
And the song comes up today, Where the Streets Have No Name. And I saw it, and then I went to my notifications to listen. I couldn't find it. So I'm like, you know what? I believe the universe drops us clues. So I'm like, I'm going to go to YouTube. I'm going to find the video, Where the Streets Have No Name. And for some reason, I'm supposed to listen to it today. So have you seen the video?
I have not seen it, not
Okay.
recently at least.
It's old. I mean, it's
Yeah.
old, but they go to downtown LA and the police and everyone's like, "Oh no, you can't be here. You can't shoot a video. There's a crowd, forming. You can't do this." And they like did it anyway. And their song, of course, where the streets have no name, is all about love and like being beyond labels and being beyond definitions and just like no matter what people are throwing at you, you just come from love. So that song and how the people were treating them, like the police and the newscasters, and you know, they were still like being true to their message, which was like coming from love and like encouraging people to go where the streets have no name. And I just thought that is such a beautiful message, especially now where everything's like labeled like conservative, liberal, like mask, no mask, like everything is so I feel like we're in a cultural civil war kind of. And there's just tribalism happening right now. Like this is my tribe and this is your tribe and my tribe doesn't like your tribe. And this song to me was like we're going beyond that where the streets have no name, and it's about being love and going above and beyond what's happening in the world. And I thought this is just, now I know why I was like drawn to listen to this song today.
Awesome. So going back to, you were talking about the network marketing, and now you're bringing this song of Where the Streets Had No Name, and you also, said these times that we're going through where there's so much divisiveness. To your point, the way that we just market everything in our culture and how it's feeding into maybe some of the divisiveness and not taking us to a place where the streets have no name.
I am a capitalist.
Okay.
I'm a spiritual capitalist. So
All right.
why my coaching and why my teaching is so different is there's a lot of metaphysical spiritual teachers and there's a lot of sales and marketing teachers. So I do both. I teach sales and marketing through spiritual principles. So the question that you ask is really great. So to me, sales and marketing has got to be service based. It's not selling someone something from your network marketing because you want to make money. It's, I really want to help you. I know you have a problem. I know you're struggling with your weight. I know you're struggling with not feeling enough energy. I know you're struggling with whatever it is you're struggling, and I want to help you. And we do it all the time, whether it's through our own network marketing or not. If somebody was struggling and I knew a book or a supplement or something that would help them, I would offer it to them. So I think it's all about coming from a service perspective, and then not being a pushy salesperson. It's like not having expectations. It's like, here, I have the product, I have the good, I have the service that will help you. I'm offering it to you. If you want it, great. If you don't want it, that's totally your choice. So I think high pressure sales are really a turnoff, especially in these times.
Yeah, for sure. And you made mention earlier to, being in LA, being an actress, being on specific shows. You wanted to be on Entourage, but they only take a size 4. Now, I've never met you physically in person, but just sitting from over here, you seem like a very beautiful person to me.
Thank you.
What have been some of the, ups and downs, pros and cons, yin and yang that you've had with your body going, to a place like LA where they want you to fit this certain circumstance? And being that, you brought up that you think being a critical thinker is awesome and that you learned that from the Ivy League. So how did, just your experience of being in that world where everything is about looks clash and work with the part of you that's a critical thinker, that's spiritual, that's super smart?
I had to come up with an affirmation flip to not identify so much with my body. And it's like a poem that I'm going to share here with your listeners. It's a whole poem that I had to tell myself this 1,000 times a day because I didn't want to be so identified with my body. So I'm not, and it's also about not being identified with materialism. I am not, and it's in my book too, the poem. I am not what I have. I am not what I do. I am not my age. I am not my height. I am not my weight. I am not my dress size. I am not my relationship with men, because I was single at the time. I am not what other people think of me. I am not my society. I am what I am, and it's enough. I am as God created me. All my needs are always met. All things are working together for my highest good. Everything I do comes easily, effortlessly, and elegantly. Everything in the universe is for me and nothing is against me. Life is supposed to be fun. I stopped taking myself so damn seriously. I stopped fighting anyone or anything, even you. Thanks, God. So that's how I pushed myself up and didn't feed into all the LA Hollywood hype.
Did you just recite that?
I know it by heart. Yeah.
That's awesome. That just came
I've
off
said it
so
to
boom.
myself a million times. So.
Yeah, that's great. See, nobody knew they were going to get the mantra in the beginning and now bonus affirmation. Bam, there you go. Universe giving it to you.
There's a lot of affirmations in there. Absolutely.
So part of your being balanced is also like your finances and career. And it seems like you've set that up pretty good for yourself. So how is it that you are spreading that message and showing people, you can do this too?
Yeah, well, I provide coaching. I have one-on-one coaching. I have group coaching. I have these 7 pillars of abundance, and I help people get each area to a level 10. So people think like, oh, what is my health and fitness? I know you're a trainer, Flip, have anything to do with my finances? Like, I want to just make money first, and then I'll hire a personal trainer, and then I'll hire a cook and a nutritionist, and then I'll get in shape. But it's actually the opposite. If you get in shape first, if you eat good nutrition first, then you're going to have the energy and the passion to pour into making your financial life great. So I put these 7 areas in order of importance. So that's why spirituality is first, fitness is second, and then they go on to emotional, romantic, mental, social, financial. Your finances are the very last piece of the puzzle, because when everything else is in alignment, it's a lot easier to make money. Have you ever had a bad relationship that was affecting your financial life?
Yeah, for
Right? I know
sure. Yeah.
you've been divorced too.
Yeah.
So, it's important to have a loving romantic partnership before you have your complete awesome financial abundance. So all these things are areas that come in alignment before the big financial wins start to happen.
And when did you prioritize the order of them? How did you come to the order of them?
Just through life. I mean, just through living life and seeing like how one thing affected. It's like finally myself, I was able to manifest that loving partnership, and it took me a long time. So once I studied with all these spiritual teachers, I started studying with relationship teachers and experts. And I thought, oh, I'm going to learn everything. And I thought I learned everything, like how to be masculine, how to be feminine. I wanted to be the feminine energy. I wanted to be the receiver. I thought I married a masculine man, and then he wasn't working. So I ended up having to step in and be the provider and the breadwinner. And that messed up my finances because I was providing for 2 people instead of a partnership of 2 people working together to make more money. So, I mean, I realized I have to get this relationship thing down first. So now I'm in a romantic partnership with someone who is also a go-getter, and now we're creating this really great lifestyle together. So I just kind of through life, I've seen how they're all intertwined.
Awesome. Can you speak a little bit more about how the relationship with yourself has evolved from being that Ivy League girl to this, super powerful woman that you are now?
You're so nice. Wow, that's such a good question. I've never been asked that. How have I evolved? I think that the power comes from not caring what people think. And when I was that Ivy League girl, although I considered myself a rebel, I was still kind of doing it for what other people think. And I still consider myself a validation addict, and I'm really trying not to be. I'm aware of it. So there's the 3 A's of change: awareness, acceptance, and then action. So I'm like just now starting to be aware, God, I'm kind of a validation addict. I'm kind of like wanting to get more likes and more followers every day. And I kind of like compare myself to people who have like more social media followers. It's been a journey of being a total validation addict when I was a college kid to being less and less and less every single day, of not wanting validation from the outside and just learning how to give it to myself and through God or the universe or whatever you call it. I choose to call God God. So that's been the journey. And the more I don't care what other people think and the less validation I need, the more power I have. That's kind of the ratio.
I like those 3 A's that you put together there. That's pretty awesome. All right. So thank you for sharing that part. Now we're going to go on to the next part of the interview. And that is first question. If you could speak to anybody, dead or alive, who would it be?
Wow. Wow. That is such a deep question. I know you told me that right before the show and I didn't have time to think of it.
Well, just
So
use your gut instinct. Who would you like to speak to?
today,
Yeah,
the first
today.
2 people are coming to my mind. One, Matt Damon, because that's my celebrity crush. And the second one is Tony Robbins.
Okay. So what kind of discussion would you want to have with either or both of these men?
I don't know. I've always wanted to meet Matt Damon ever since I moved to LA. And I know like everyone in LA, it's a small town, it's like 3 people away. So it's just like been something I always wanted. I just want to meet him and just talk to him. I think he's funny, he's smart. What would I want to ask him? Gosh, just how he was able to keep himself intact going through the whole Hollywood thing, which is so superficial, and how to stay humble, because I think he's done that relatively well. So that would be that. And then Anthony Robbins, oh my God, like he's such a rags to riches story. I mean, he grew up with like 5 different dads and an abusive childhood, and he didn't go to college, and he's, created this empire and helped tens of thousands of people and coached presidents. So since I am a coach and he is like the grandfather of the coaching industry, I would just want to ask him like advice and how he did it and how he got momentum and how he got a following and just everything about his journey of how he became a coach.
So next question is, what are maybe like 3 of the top resources that have inspired you?
Oh, wow. Well, I would say the book, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, is one of my favorite books. I hope I can remember them on the spot, but it's be impeccable with your word. Always do your best. Don't take anything personally. Don't assume anything. That book, especially, like I said, don't take anything personally. It kind of goes with the validation thing
Yeah.
of not caring what people think. That chapter I've read over and over and over again. So that would be my number one of my favorite spiritual books. The other thing is for romance. I love the book, The Five Love Languages. Have
Yeah.
you read that?
I have read the love
I,
language.
I
I am
love
an acts of service type of person.
Okay, mine are words of appreciation and gifts. So I love the book, The Five Love Languages. It really helps you relate to your partner. And it's really just a great book for your love life. And wow, the third resource.
It doesn't have to be a book. It can be,
No, it can be anything.
anything.
Yeah, I would say exercise.
Exercise.
Exercise. So I grew up playing tennis. I was a nationally ranked tennis player by the age of 8. I was ranked in the national 10 and unders. Actually played tennis where you're from in Coral Gables at the Orange Bowl when I was like 10. So it's just part of my life, exercising. And my dad said to sweat once a day.
Yeah.
And whatever's happening in my life, I'm just really consistent with my exercise, and it just the endorphins and the dopamine and the serotonin, and I just escape into the movement. I get really into the breathing, like with weightlifting, the inhale and the exhaling on the exertion. And it revs me up. It gets me in state. As Tony Robbins says, when you move your body, you change your state. And that is one of my go-tos. I love it. I absolutely love it. So I don't work out every day, but 5 times a week for sure. And I've been doing that pretty much my entire life since like age 8. So I love it.
Is there any specific exercises that you're doing now in your life? Because, you're younger, it's easier to do tennis. And I'm not saying that you're old by any stretch of the imagination. But,
Right.
as we get older, we need to work a little more on joint integrity or, just different styles of exercise. So is there a style of exercise that your body has been craving more lately?
So I start the day with 10 minutes of yoga, 10 to 15 minutes, and then I meditate. So that's another huge thing is meditation. That would be the fourth thing. But so I do the yoga every morning, and then I do hardcore workouts. So I do HIIT training, I do tennis. It's amazing because I am in my 40s and I feel the same in my body as I did when I was 20. I don't feel different. Like when
Yeah.
I wake up in the morning, I feel the exact same. It's such a blessing. I don't feel like I have to change my workout that much. So maybe instead of like when I do my HIIT training, doing all high impact, sometimes I'll take the bounce out and make it low impact. But I feel great in my body. And it's because of working out my whole life, doing the 10 minutes of flexibility work, and I take a lot of supplements and I have a really clean diet. So I'm really blessed. Like I can play tennis for an hour and a half in the hot sun and it's fine. Like I can totally do it.
All right. So one day I'm looking forward to either me going to California, you coming to Colorado, and we're gonna do some good HIIT training, and we'll put
Oh
it on
yeah,
video and try to inspire people.
let's do it. Let's do a video. We can even do it via Zoom.
Yeah, we can. But I am very much like, some days my body gets up and it's like, you need to hit it hard today. Some days it's like today, it's yoga all day long. Or, some days it'll be like, go do some bar, even though guys really don't do bar, but that burn that you get
Ooh,
in bar,
love it.
that is something right there. That's a different style of fitness. And
It's a different style. So yeah, I do mix in Pilates with the HIIT training, the Pilates that you do on the Megaformer.
yeah,
And it's low impact, but wow, the core and the burn that I get, it works the muscles in such a deep way that it's unbelievable. Unfortunately, the Pilates studios with the Megaformers have been closed since COVID,
yeah,
but now they're starting to bring the Megaformers like outside.
yeah.
So I might have to check out one of those classes. But wow, that's probably even harder for me than the HIIT training. And it's a lot easier on the joints because there's no impact. The Pilates it's called Legree Method Pilates. It is no joke. And it's really trendy in LA.
Okay, cool. So everybody keep your eyes peeled and try that new style of Pilates coming fresh out of LA. Next question, and since you've brought him up a few times, here we go. If you could go back in time and talk to your 18-year-old father, what would you tell him?
My 18-year-old father.
Yes.
Wow, is this like a psychiatry Freudian issue? Podcast. This is awesome. What would I tell my 18-year-old father?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, these questions are awesome. I would tell him to enjoy life more. And I know he's probably listening now, so I'm getting all like emotional because I believe his spirit's always with me.
Okay.
Because he was such an overachiever. Like he graduated high school at 16, college at 18, medical school at 20. He had to wait a whole year to be a doctor because you had to be 21 to get your medical license. So he was like out of the gates, like a total workaholic overachiever. I would say, Dad, enjoy life more. That's great that you want to accomplish things, but it's going to go by so fast. and I want you to enjoy life more. So I have a great story. I was visiting my dad in the nursing home, and I said, I figured out life. I figured out life. Success is all about how happy you are and how much joy you feel. I was like, joy is my new definition of success. Literally, like on his deathbed, he's like, joy is only one definition of success. Like he still couldn't accept
Yeah.
it. So being that he'd be 18 and influential, I would say, Dad, life is all about how much joy you can feel each day.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
So, next and last question is, are there any questions you would like to ask me?
Ask you.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh,
You get to be the interviewer again.
okay. This is my podcast, which is Balanced, Beautiful, Abundant. If you want to check out his interview, he was awesome. Okay, what do I want to ask you? Wow, I can totally geek out on like health and fitness questions. This is good. So, if you're watching your blood sugar levels, is it okay to have fruit in your smoothie in the morning when you wake up? Because I have a nutritionist friend. She's like all about meat, 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 meat. She's like a bulletproof
She's
girl.
going carnivore.
Yes, she's bulletproof lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I am more like holistic. Like I want to have greens and antioxidants and more like medical medium. Okay. So those are two totally opposing views that are both trending right now.
For sure.
Bulletproof and the medical medium, which is like celery juice and a, smoothie in the morning. So where do you fall in that? Like when you wake up in the morning, is it okay to have like a low sugar fruit smoothie with like berries and protein powder, or is it better just to fast and skip breakfast? Like if you're working on your blood sugar levels. So where do you fall in that?
Well, I'm going to first and foremost start with the answer that all of these questions is really the answer to, and that is it depends. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It depends on who the person is. You were asking if somebody is having blood sugar issues, they probably should not get up and have this fruit smoothie early in the morning and dose themselves with insulin right off the bat, especially if if their body is, sending them a message that they are having an issue processing insulin.
Right.
Now, with that said, I feel and I think from the things that the experimentations I've done to myself, experiments that I've done with clients, I feel that a lot of this has to do with your genetic lineage.
Mm-hmm.
So, say, for example, you come from like a Scandinavian or Russian lineage, right? That hundreds of your ancestors come from that region.
Right.
Being that I still believe that Darwin, had a pretty good theory going on there.
Yeah.
If your family comes from that lineage, what are the chances that you are going to be able to process fruits and vegetables that well when most of the year the only thing you had to eat was fat and protein because nothing really grows in the cold?
Right.
Now, that's a Scandinavian example. But what if you have the example that, where your ancestors came from somewhere around the equator, where there was tons of fruits and vegetables, and that's what they had to eat. And maybe occasionally they'd have some meat, but for the most part, it was, you're going to have high fiber carbs, and that's just what was available in the area that your ancestors grew up. So that's my basis for a lot of nutritional where we stand. The thing is, and you tell me what you think about this, nutrition and research, like the research and nutrition is just, it's very, fanatical. It's basically religious almost.
Yeah.
And that stops people from actually seeing what may actually be there, which
It's more tribalism, like I
it's,
was saying.
yeah.
Like we're
Mm-hmm.
the meat eater tribe, we're the vegan tribe, we're the
Mm-hmm.
paleo tribe. That's what's happening in this country, Flip, is even with freaking nutrition, people are being tribalistic. That's why I was saying the why the streets have no name, like really spoke to me today.
Yeah. And to your point with that whole streets had no name, how about if, for 3 months out of the year, your body is saying, you know what, I really do want some meat right now. But then maybe 3 months after that, it's like, okay, I've had enough of that. I need more of the celery juice now.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe it's not an all or nothing thing. Maybe because we are dynamic, nutrition should be dynamic as well, depending on what it is you're doing. I'm thinking that if you wanted to build some muscle, you probably need some more protein. And if you're breaking down that muscle, not that you can't do it with a vegetarian or vegan lifestyle, but if you're breaking down muscle, chances are your body's going to want muscle to try
Yeah.
to put it back together. I try not to, get religious with any of the nutritional protocols. What I do, at least for myself, is I try to experiment with all of them and see how my body responds. A few years ago, I went vegan for a few months, and literally after about 3 months, I can feel that my body was like, stop doing this. It was fine for a month, it was fine for two, but now you're taking it too far. You need to break it down. And as for things like fasting, I'm a big proponent of fasting. I love it, but I love fasting mostly because I just like the way my brain feels when I'm burning ketones. The second I introduce a carbohydrate, 45 minutes later, I need to take a nap. And it's like
You skip
clockwork.
breakfast?
I skip breakfast. I have not eaten anything today yet. The longer our interview goes, the longer I'm going to be fasting.
So do you have caffeine in the morning or you just skip breakfast?
I'm weird. I don't like coffee.
What about tea?
I do like tea. I usually drink tea at night before I go to bed. Every once in a while, if it's a really cold day, that's when I'll, dip into maybe a little more chai tea or something like that. But I typically like to just drink tea right before bed as part of like my sleeping ceremony.
So what do you drink in the morning? Just water?
Water. I'm a water person. And every quarter, I do try to do 3-day fast. And twice a year, I try to go keto. But the reason that I do that is because, in reading research and in seeing my 23andMe and like expanding on what's on there, I know that I have the gene, the ApoE4 gene, which increases my probabilities of getting Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the protocols that they think, and it's very preliminary, that they think can keep that gene turned off is a ketogenic diet.
Wow.
So again, I'm experimenting. I don't have the answers, but I feel great when I'm on keto brain wise. Now, I don't like that when I am on keto, I lose weight like in a week, I'll lose 10 pounds. And everybody's like, oh my God, I want to just, how can I lose weight like that? And it's like, that's not why I'm doing it though. I'm constantly trying to keep my muscle. I'm the ectomorph type that it's hard to keep it on. I have to eat. I'd have to eat 4 Chipotle burritos to put on some weight. And
Wow. I'm
that's
so
really hard to
jealous.
do.
I'm the mesomorph. Have you ever heard from your
Yeah.
lips to your hips?
Yeah. Hmm.
I have to watch everything that goes into my mouth.
See, but I wish I was a mesomorph where I can keep some of that muscle without
Yeah.
having to work for it so hard. Because if I don't work and keep working, it'll go away in an instant.
Yeah.
So, and as for supplements and things, since you brought up supplements, I'd be curious to see what regimen you are. But when it comes to supplements, right now I'm focusing a lot on like the anti-aging
Yeah.
supplements. So I've been taking like nicotinamide riboside or nicotinamide mononucleotide with resveratrol and all these things that are supposedly helpful in slowing down the aging process.
Yeah. I've heard of resveratrol. I've never heard of the other thing you said.
So there's a doctor out of Boston, out of Harvard, and he was an MIT, but he's actually out of Australia. His name is David Sinclair, and he is one of the leading anti-aging people leading that charge. I will be upfront and transparent and say some of the things that I am taking are not very well researched. It's just me, again, being the science experiment to myself to see what's going to
Right.
happen. So I am not suggesting anybody take these things. I am just saying this is my protocol that I have been doing now. And so far, so good. Like my blood markers are really, they've gotten better because every year I try to give my blood at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So at the beginning of the year, I always start the year with a 3-day fast, and then I do the autoimmune protocol. Because at the end of the year, I go completely off the rails. From Thanksgiving to December 31st, that's when I'm just like, you know what? I know I'm not going to feel good, but I'm going to just eat
Wow.
whatever I want.
You let yourself go for 6 weeks, but
I
that's because
let
you're
my
an ectomorph and you'll
Yeah,
like
and
not
I
eat
can put on
anything.
weight. I can
Maybe
put
you'll
on
put
weight.
on 5 or 10 pounds and you'll
Uh-huh.
lose it like the first week of January. But if I let myself go during the holidays for 6 weeks,
Yeah.
I would become a different person in January. You wouldn't even
Mhm.
recognize me.
So 2 years ago, I remember having a discussion with a friend of mine who was a yoga instructor, and it was December 31st. There was like 5 minutes left, and I told her, I can't wait for this to become midnight so that I can go on my fast and just get all of these toxins that I've been putting in out because I felt it. Like, you're dragging. I
Oh, yeah.
gained a good 5 or 6 pounds, and during those 6 weeks, I strength trained. Like, I only strength train. I lift heavy, heavy, heavy
Bulking.
things.
That was your bulking phase.
Yeah, that's like, and then as soon as December 31st, 11:59 to 12 goes to January 1st, boom, I start my fast. 3 days where I get more into a meditative state, and then autoimmune protocol for the rest of the month after that. And I can definitely feel the differences between all of these different types of protocols.
What does autoimmune protocol mean?
So an autoimmune protocol is basically a fancy way of saying an elimination diet. So I go back to just the basics because I'm just fasting. So after the fasting, maybe for a week, I'll do like bone broth and soups and that are made out of really good ingredients. And then I'll start adding more solids and for the rest of that month. And then February, I usually not as bad as between the holidays, but I'll let myself open up a little. And then in March is when I try to go to the keto.
Nice.
So it's just experimentation. I haven't tried the carnivore diet yet, but it is on my things to try list just to see what happens. So thanks for that question.
Sure.
Tell everybody where they can find the beautiful, abundant Rebecca Whitman.
Okay, so speaking of beautiful, abundant, I have a podcast that you can hear Flip and many other experts on. So I divide life into 7 areas of balance and I interview experts in each of the 7 areas. So the podcast is called Balanced, Beautiful, Abundant. It's on Apple, Spotify, wherever you can hear podcasts. You can get my book, How to Make a 6-Figure Income Working Part-Time, on Amazon. If you have Audible, you can hear it for free. And then my social media is at Rebecca E. Whitman on Twitter and Instagram. And my website is RebeccaElizabethWhitman.com. So those are all places to stay in touch with me. And I would love to stay in touch with you and see what you're up to and how I can support you.
Awesome. So go please look up Rebecca because you can see she's just oozing awesome out of this screen. So if you liked this episode, like it, share it, rate it if you feel the message resonates with you. You can find this and other past episodes of WEYT. And remember, that's WEYT, WEYT on YouTube. It's WEYT Show. Facebook, it's WEYT. Instagram, it's WEYT Show. And on podcast players everywhere, it's WEYT. To schedule a call with either Rebecca, that she gave you her information, or me, you can send me an email at weytshow@gmail.com. And to close it out, I like to say this every single time, and it always brings me so much joy to say this. And that is, time and attention is the greatest gift we can give to each other. So here's to spreading more peace, love, and smiles.
I love it. Peace out, everyone.